Start out trading stocks or futures, and your odds of surviving the first 12 months are incredibly slim. Statistics consistently show that 95% of all new traders fail and lose their entire bankroll within their first year. But the people blowing up their accounts aren't uneducated gamblers. Often, they are some of the brightest and most accomplished professionals in society. We're talking about doctors, lawyers, top scientists, and high-level CEOs. These are individuals who have spent their entire lives dominating their respective environments through sheer intellect and hard work. Even the financial industry's most brilliant market analysts, people who perfectly understand the theoretical mechanisms of price action, frequently end up being the absolute worst traders on the floor. Watch what happens to the standard price chart when these high achievers experience the sting of losing money. They fall back on their academic conditioning. They try to shield themselves from the pain of being wrong by learning more about the market, piling on trend lines, Fibonacci retracements, and overlapping technical indicators, thinking that enough data will somehow eliminate the risk. Instead of providing clarity, this data overload creates a trap. Because they are trying to avoid pain rather than accept risk, they begin second-guessing themselves. They hesitate. Even when a clear entry signal flashes right in front of them, they sit perfectly still, paralyzed by conflicting metrics. What they are experiencing is a psychological gap. The exact same skills, the academic rigor and environmental control that guarantee success in structured human society, actively guarantee failure in the financial markets. From the time we are born, we operate in a society built on rules, boundaries, and expected behaviors. If something goes wrong or someone causes us pain, the societal structure usually steps in to protect us, reconcile the conflict, and make us whole. The market environment offers none of that protection. It is a psychological wilderness. Here, you have pure, unrestricted freedom of expression, coupled with a complete absence of behavioral rules. There are no formal beginnings, middles, or endings in a trade. The market is a constant, endless stream of motion, and it absolutely does not care whether you participate or not. Look at how this chart plots an equity curve moving downward over time. In a losing trade, the market will not take you out. You don't have to do a single thing to keep losing. You can just sit there staring at the screen as the market passively keeps draining your account until you have nothing left. Compare that to a casino. At a blackjack table, the rules of the game force you to define your risk before you play. And when the dealer sweeps the cards at the end of each hand, the game is over. To lose more money, you have to make an active, conscious choice to push more chips into the center of the table. Because the market provides zero external structure to stop you, it becomes incredibly dangerous. An environment of limitless freedom will destroy anyone who hasn't built their own rigid internal boundaries. This danger is often masked by how easy it looks at the start.
A novice can put on their very first trade with absolutely no skill and win. That taste of easy money triggers a completely carefree state of mind, tricking them into believing they have nothing to fear. Behavioral science explains why this is so dangerous. If you teach an animal to do a task and reward it consistently, it stops working the moment the rewards stop. But if you provide that reward on a purely random schedule, the subject will perform the task indefinitely, hoping the next attempt brings a payout. Traders are highly susceptible to these random rewards. A few unexpected wins release a flood of dopamine, plunging the brain into a state of euphoria. When you feel euphoric, you cannot perceive risk. You believe nothing can go wrong, leading directly to reckless choices, like massively increasing your position size. But then, the streak breaks. The market moves against that enormous position, and the euphoric feeling instantly flips to emotional pain. The trader feels violated, deeply betrayed, as though the market intentionally reached into their pocket and stole from them. This chart shows the classic pattern that follows, the boom and bust cycle. The trader frantically tries to absorb more market data to prevent future pain. They slowly build their equity back up during periods of overconfident euphoria, only to suffer another devastating vertical drop when the market inevitably does something they didn't anticipate. Treating the market as an adversary to be conquered guarantees this cycle of self-sabotage. You simply cannot avoid the pain of uncertainty by trying to outsmart an entity that has infinite variables. To escape the cycle, you have to accept a harsh yet entirely liberating truth. The market is completely neutral. It does not know you, it does not care about your goals, and it certainly does not owe you a single dollar. The market only acts as a mirror, reflecting what is already inside you. If you are angry, fearful, or desperate to be right, it is because you are holding on to the belief that the market creates your outcomes. You cannot control the environment, and you cannot manipulate the market to bend to your will the way you might in normal society. The only thing you can actually control is yourself. This flowchart illustrates the necessary shift to the true trader's mindset. When new market information comes in, you treat it merely as objective data, rather than a personal threat. By bypassing the ego and the fear of losing, that data routes directly into objective execution. You take the trade because the edge is there, fully accepting the risk. Taking 100% responsibility for every single outcome removes the need to prove yourself right. If a trade results in a loss, there is no urge to exact revenge, no need to gather more data to fight back. You just wait for the next edge to appear and execute again. When you finally align your mental environment to accept the unknown without hesitation, the fear disappears. You step into the zone. Trading stops being an unwinnable war against the market and becomes an exercise in the mastery of your own self-discipline.